Good morning, everyone. We'll be going live in few minutes. Just waiting for everybody to join. We'll be starting in few minutes. There would be people joining from Europe and India. So if you have joined already, request you to wait for some time. And thank you very much for joining. And I appreciate your patience. Good morning. I've also connected on the YouTube live. So waiting for people to join.
Dasena Vasettha everyone, we are convuting Dasena at Dasena voice channel. Please come join us.
We would be starting in few minutes. How is it now, Lucas? Can you able to hear? Okay, very nice. Okay, all set then. Okay, great. So shall we now begin? Okay. Welcome and very good morning to all those who have joined this morning from uh, the central time and also from other part of Europe, and anybody joining from India. I welcome to this wonderful sutta called as Aggañña Sutta. So this is an interesting one on for two reasons. Number one reason is that 1 minute, I will just do what Lucas is asking me to do. I could share the URL to any Dhamma. Just a second. Okay, very nice. So I just now sent that information. Uh, I'll be covering a very nice sutta called as Aggañña Sutta. It is very dear to me for two reasons. One is that I'm from the same clan or caste as what Buddha talks about to two of the Brahmin youth who would come and meet him after they have been reprimanded by people there, saying that they should not be following Gautama and stop following the teachings. So they find Buddha and they go near him to talk about it. So what Buddha does is that he then splits it out into 15 types of knowledge or information to say what it is and how it is and how things appear and what happens and who is the righteous person, who is a Brahmin, and all that. He gives the clarification and information, which makes these two Brahmin youth be very happy, and they understand and they start working towards becoming an Arahant. So the first one is, I will first tell in Pali and then I will translate that in English about these 15 of them. So the first one is Chaturvarna Shuddhi, that is purification of the four castes. Rasapata Vipatu Bhava, solid nectar appears because it is created now. So Rasapatha is nectar, or which is semi-liquid, and Vipata is the nectar. Chandima Suryadi Patu Bhava. In this, the moon and the sun and all the stars and constellation appears. Bhumi Pappata Kapatu Bhava, that is sprouting of grains or the plants in the land. So they sprout on the land or the ground. Padalata Patu Bhava. Not only that happens, there is a bursting of pods after the ground sprouts happens. Okay, these pods can be considered like the mushrooms, almost like that. Akantu Paka Sali Patu Bhava. Sali in Pali is rice. Akantu is ripened. Paka is just ready for eating, and it is untilled, that is, there was no need for tilling of the lands. Ittip Purisa Linga Patu Bhava, the gender of male and females start appearing. Metuna Dhamma Samachara, the first intercourse on sexuality starts with the beings. Sali Vibhaga, the fields get divided among people. Maha Sammata Raja, Sammata is the abled one, Maha is the best and the able one, elected as a king. Raja is the king. Brahmana Mandala, the circle of Brahmins. Vesa Mandala, the circle of merchants or artisans we can call, or we can call them as businessmen or tycoons, whatever we would like to call these people. Suddha Mandala, the circle of workers who go to work every day, get their wages on a daily basis or on a monthly basis, just like what we go to the offices these days. So Shuddha Mandala. Duccharita Dikatha. Duccharita is bad conducts. Adikatha is their experiences on how they are creating bad offenses, bad qualities, bad conduct, ethics which are misplaced. That we could see happening more and more these days, where people lose their ethics for the profit or due to circumstantial problems and trying to save their jobs or trying to focus on their attention to their family. So all of that is Duccharita Dikatha. But finally, 15th one is Bodhi Pakhiya Bhavana. Bodhi is knowledge. Pakhiya Bhavana is, Pakhiya is to understand. Bhavana is the meditation. And in English, if we were to add all of that, is the qualities that lead to awakening, or can be called as enlightenment. So with this, let us go and see what all of these mean. So at one time, Buddha was staying near Savatthi, a place in India. At that time, there were two Brahmin people who were on probation, and they wanted to get ordained into a particular clan or a particular way of living. So this is Vasettha, and in Sanskrit it becomes Vasishta, and Bharadvaja in Pali is again Bharadvaja in Sanskrit. So these are the two people who were wanting to join an order. So then Buddha started walking in open space after his completion of his meditation, and then Vasettha and Bharadvaja, they go and meet him, they pray him, and showing their reverences, they then bow to him, and then they start walking along with him. So then Buddha, out of curiosity and knowing very well that what is happening in that village, asks Vasettha that you both are Brahmins by birth and clan, and you have gone from the lay life to the homelessness from a Brahmin family. So he feels that these two wouldn't have any abuses and insult from the Brahmins, because they're exactly doing what the document says, that they should live their family life and go as a recluse and then start working out. But then they say that is not true. Actually, we are being insulted and abused for not doing what they are asking us to do, but we are doing something what they don't like us to do. And then Buddha inquires, but how do the Brahmins insult you? So a little bit of history and a little bit of thinking on that would help for people who don't know what is a Brahmin and all that. So since I'm from the same Brahmin family, I can I think I can give some 2 minutes talk on that. So there is a belief that we in the Brahmin family normally is that we have three things which can assist. One is that due to the association with the noble ones, we can the Brahmin class can get or work towards liberation. And since they have, the second one is, since they are knowledgeable of the of the various scriptures, and they could explain better than any other, they stand a fair chance. And number three is that they all are learned class. That means they're all intellectual kind. So even during that time, that was the case. So he says here that only Brahmins are the highest caste, other castes are inferior. So they had Varna. Varna is it can be called as color actually. So there are four colors which can come in any society. One is a color of an intellectual, knowledgeable class, can be called as Brahmin, and second one is can be called as Kshatriya in Sanskrit and Khattiya in Pali. That means these are the warrior clan who will protect the land and the borders. And number three is Vaisya, or in Sanskrit Vaishya, indicating they are the business tycoons who deal with money and sharing the profits and looking at the losses and then providing the necessary infrastructure for people to transact. So they are more transactional oriented people. And the fourth class, Sudra in Pali and Shudra in Sanskrit, are the working class. Their job is to work for someone, just like we go to the offices and we work and we get salaries paid by the employer per day or per hour or as wages or as a monthly salary through which we can then buy a lot of things. So this is how the four colors are. So why this higher is one thing we need to understand, is because in the traditional Indian culture or an ancient Indian way of looking, which has got totally distorted, is that, or was distorted even during Buddha's time, is that the Brahmana is supposed to have understood the truth and he is working in a noble path and he has experienced the reality as such. But over a period it got distorted, where even Buddha talks about how it got distorted in the same Aggañña Sutta. So we will come to that later. So these are the four castes which were there. And then this Vasettha says that these people who abuse us, even though we are born in the same family as Brahmins, but they abuse us, saying that only Brahmins are the highest caste and others are inferior. And the Brahmins are Sukho Varna, that is, their skin is fair and light. They look attractive, whereas the other castes are dark. Kanha, the two kinds of kanha. One is the color kanha, and another one is called spoiled. That is, they have certain defects, and the Brahmins don't have any defects. And a third one he talks about is that Sujanti. that is Sujanti means purified, and the others are not. So Brahmins are really having the knowledge to purify oneself, so they are always pure. And Brahmano Putta, that is, the Brahmins are the rightful sons of the Brahma, and is born out of the mouth, and is born out of Brahma, created by the Brahma, and they are heirs of the Brahma. Heirs in the sense that not the hair, what I'm talking about, they are the clan from the Brahma. So they are supported by the Brahma. So then Buddha asks them that you both abandoned the best caste to join this inferior caste who shave their head, and they are called as fake ascetics by the Brahmins, and they stay in dilapidated places, and they are not treated good from any angle, you see, and including by some of the kings. So why do you think? This is what the Brahmins would ask these two people, and that's exactly what Buddha also is trying to find out from them. What do they feel? And then they also say, the Brahmins also say that you going there and wasting your time in something which doesn't give you what you're supposed to do, and since you're from from a most fortunate class, which is the Brahma class, you are certainly not going to prosper. So it's not right and it's not proper for you to do that. So he says that this is what we hear from the Brahmins. So they abuse us in this various ways. And after listening to Vasettha, the Buddha then says that, well, you know what, they have forgotten their tradition, and when they say this to you. So now Buddha talks about what is the tradition of Brahmins and how it appeared and what happens. And he also adds that if that were to be true, that the Brahmin were to be born from the mouth, and then they are the clan and they are being protected by the Brahma, in that case, why does Brahmin women are seen menstruating and are becoming pregnant and give birth and do breastfeeding same as any other class? So even though they are born from a Brahmin womb, they say that they are the highest caste and other castes are inferior, and the Brahmins are having a good, from the skin one can make out is a Brahmin, and the others are dark and they are purified and not others. Then in that case, why are they misrepresenting it? Because they don't know the actual reason to be called as a Brahmin, and they speak falsely and make much of the bad karma. So actually not knowing or being ignorant, avidya or avidya in Sanskrit, is the root cause of all miseries. So here again Buddha brings to light that why one should not be ignorant and why one should always be knowing what it is. So now he starts with the first one, called as purification of the four castes, is Chaturvarna Suddhi. So he says that, you know what, there are Kshatriya. Kshatriya is the warrior class, and these people kill living creatures. So they do Panatipata. So he talks about the 5 precepts, which is not followed by the Brahmins, the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, and the Shudras. All the 4 classes don't follow that, and they tell lies, they do all kind of misconducts, and they will not share anything with anyone, and they have a abhijja. Abhijja, itcha is liking, and abhicca is excessive liking, and they start storing it. So I think the English word nearest is could be used as covetous. I guess so. That's the right word. And they have a malicious intent because they start with a vyapanna chitta. Chitta is the thoughts, and vyapada, that is, vyapada is they can go down to any level. They can stoop themselves to any level to get that whatever they want to do. So they are unskilled, and they do all kind of things just to enjoy their life, and they're always in threat. So they do everything possible to do all of that. And these things are blameworthy, and these are not to be cultivated, and they are unworthy of the noble ones. And these are the actual dark deeds. So when we say kanha jati, it is this is the one which is dark, and they give you dark results because they take a person to the lower levels of existence, and then they are criticized by noble ones or the sensible people who can see such wrongdoings. So these are seen in some of the Kshatriyas or the warrior class people, and also can be seen in the Brahmins, and also can be seen in the merchant class or the business tycoons who'd like to try to enjoy the sense pleasure as much as they could. So that is something even the Brahmins would do. They would lie, they would slander, they would do all kind of nasty things just to ensure that they get what they want. So this can be happening with the Shudras, that is the working class people. That can be happening with the Vaishyas, who are the business class people. That can be happening with Brahmins, who are the intellectual kind, and then they can be happening with Kshatriyas, which are the warrior class. So this can be happening with all the four. Similarly, in all these four classes, there are people who would not do anything of these what we just now spoke. That means they don't kill living creatures, they don't steal, they don't commit any kind of sensual misconduct whatsoever. So they will be as much noble as possible, so that they don't do any kind of nonsense. And they are very kind hearted, and they have the right view. The previous one were having the wrong view because they were having abhijja and vyapada, whereas these people who don't have that, they are really kind hearted, and they're contented, and they have the right view. So this is something skillful, and they can be copied, or they can be basically cultivated by those people who see them and are worthy of the noble ones, and they are reckoned in that way. They are with bright deeds because they light, they shine, their deeds shine, and they're praised by sensible people. And this is some things what is there in the warrior class and the Brahmin class, and then the Vaishya or the business class, and then those people who are working on jobs. So both these things occur like this, but are mixed up. So there are the dark people who do dark deeds, and there are bright people who do bright deeds. So they are two kinds. But then it is very strange to see that the Brahmins say that there are only higher and others are inferior, and they shine where other people don't shine, and they cannot be purified. Only they can be purified, and they are Brahma's rightful sons and born of the mouth, born of Brahma, created by Brahma, heirs of Brahma. So sensible people, that is the noble ones who have experienced the Dhamma, don't agree with that. Why? Because any bhikkhu from any one of these four castes, that is four kinds, four varnas, four colors, if we were to talk about, who is perfected and who has removed the defilements of raga, dvesha, moha, and who has completed the spiritual journey. What's the spiritual journey? He knows yatha bhuta jnana, as they appear and as they pass away. What is this arising and passing away? The four elements along with the five aggregates, and then he understands the anicca nature in that, the dukkha nature in that, and the anatta nature in that. That person has done what has to be done, laid down the burden, because this was a burden. He was carrying a burden in his mind that he needs to protect something which need not be protected. In fact, he was storing some negativity which was not to be done in the first place. So he has laid down the burden, achieved the true goal, utterly ending the fetters of rebirth. So the 10 fetters are totally dismantled and is rightly free through enlightenment. So this is called as an enlightenment path. And this is the best virtue anybody can cultivate. And this I call as Dhamma, is what he says. And the other thing, what that means, a person who still has the raga, dvesha, moha in him is following adharma. That is, this is not right. So for dharma, for the Dhamma, if we were to say, Vasettha, this is what helps a person in this life to be liberated and in the future lives, because he don't get any other life apart from this life if he has done as per that. And we will now talk about how it can be done. So he says that the king Pasenda of Kosala also knows it. The ascetic Gautama has gone forth from the Sakyan clan, and then King Pasenda also greets him, bows down, rising up, joining palms and observing proper etiquette for him. So the King Pasenda now doesn't seem to say that he doesn't have a deference that the ascetic Gautama is well born, I am ill born, he is powerful, I am weak, he is handsome and ugly, I am ugly, he is influential, I am insignificant. Rather, he is honoring, respecting and venerating the Dhamma. He is not venerating the Buddha, he is venerating the Dhamma. So in one of the phrases, he actually talks about yo dhammam passati, so mam passati, yo paticca samutpadam passati, so dhammam passati. So actually, Buddha talks about that, how do one see the Buddha? He says that one who understands the Dhamma understands the Buddha, and one who understands the dependent origination understands the Dhamma. So here he's talking about that if somebody were to know the Dhamma in and out, and he's understood how the paticca samutpada, the dependent origination works, and then he has understood what the Dhamma is all about. So then he then talks about when someone has the faith in the realized one, and he's settled and rooted and planted deep strong into it, that means he has lived the Dhamma, he wouldn't shift himself to anything else, no matter whatever might be the compulsion. And it is appropriate for them to say that he is now born as from the Buddhas. He is born from his mouth, born of Dhamma, created by the Dhamma, hair of the Dhamma. Why is that? So now he asks, earlier the Brahmins were thinking of born from Brahma, and Buddha makes it as this is born from the Buddha Dhamma. That is, he has explained perfectly about how to cut the bhava, the existence, and hence he can be called as person born out of that mouth, out of the Dhamma. So he's then explaining here is that the embodiment of truth, if anybody were to talk about, and if a person were to understand what is life being holy, then he has understood and experienced the Dhamma to the fullest extent, that when he talks, he only talks of Dhamma. And so then a person can be said that he is born out of the mouth, which is the Dhamma. So then he talks about these world cycles, how it all happens. So he says, Vasettha, after a very long time has passed, this whole cosmos, as it has expanded in the ever expanding universe, suddenly compresses itself and it starts contracting. As the cosmos keeps on contracting, the sentient being and will now head to the realm of radiance, abhasara. So their minds, after the break of the body, settles down in the abhasara Brahma realm of existence, where it is streaming radiance. So the mind now reflects the light of the abhasara Brahma. There they are mind made, that is, that mind stays with all its abilities, feeding on rapture, on the jhana, what it has now got. It becomes self-luminous, moving through the sky, steadily glorious, and they can remain like that for a very long time to come. So as the whole cosmos contracts and the world cycle ends, so it's called as the ending of the kalpa, or in Pali kappa. All of them, irrespective of what they have done, get into the abhasara Brahma realm of existence. So then there comes a time, after a very long period has passed, this cosmos starts to expand again. So then these sentient beings, they become a lot of radiant deities and come back to various realms. And in those realms also, they are mind made, feeding on the jhanas or the dhyanas. They are luminous and they are having their glory, and they can stay there for a long time. Now in this case, they don't require any food for existence, because the food is ahara, since it is self-illuminating or luminous, it reflects its own light on the mind, so it doesn't require any kind of fuel. So all the things, all the karma which is there remains in the seed form in that being, and then doesn't get established in anywhere at all. So it just stays wherever it is. Then he talks about how the nectar starts appearing. So in that there is the whole uh, place is filled with andhakara. Andhakara means extremely dark, and each one of these bhuta, eko the kibhuta, kopana, vasetta, tena, samayena, honti, andhakaro, andhakarati misa. So here it will be like a messy, like a foam kind of environment where darkness is there, just like nowadays scientists talk about the outer space and called as dust. So they say that the space doesn't have a space, but it has matter inside, which is dust or whatever they can call. So that means it is not empty. Similarly is the case here. At this time, the moon and sun were not found, nor the stars and constellation, day and night, months and fortnight, years and season, male and female. Now, in this case, the beings are not named; they are just known as just beings. So, in this dark stage, there are no different beings. There's only one kind of beings. So, after a long while, a clouded, because of that foam kind, gets solidified and it becomes like a solid nectar, and it is curdled in the water. It looks like, from if we were to somebody were to look from top to down or down to top, would like to see, like it looks like a curd on top, that is the yogurt on top of hot milk as it cools, or I don't know what to say in English. It's like when you boil the milk for a long time and then allow it to cool, you get the film, or you get that a thick
It's like turtle milk.
yes, that's correct, that's correct. Yep. So that's the one they would be seeing, and it is full of fragrance. Even today, when you boil the milk and try eating that, it tastes very well. So it would be fragrance and it will be delicious. It will be like the clarified butter, or like a butter, and it will be very sweet. It's like an honey, but this honey is so sweet that a small sip of that would make a being be happy for long years. So it doesn't have to do anything. So at that time, no being is interested in eating that, so they are self luminous. So now one of those being, out of craving for that, because they see this coming and they would like to see what it is, so they get excited of tasting it. So they taste this solid nectar with this finger, and once they enjoy it, other beings follow the suit. So whatever craving was there in their mind with greed comes out instantly, which was holding on for quite some time, because the environment, like the sankata or the conditions, were not appropriate. Now it becomes dependently originated. That is, now this cream and the eating of that cream becomes a constant thing. And because they start devouring it, the third one would happen. That is Chandima Surya the Patu Bhava. That is, once they start eating this nectar and make it into lumps to eat it, their luminosity immediately ended, because they were self effluent, and now that effluence is gone because they are now feasting on this. So as soon as that happens, the moon and the sun started appearing, and the constellations started appearing. Stars and constellation, days and nights can be distinguished now as the sun moves and the earth moves and the moon moves and all the other planets start moving. So the movement can be seen, and then the months and fortnights, and people will start, people in the sense those beings will start predicting and doing all kind of things, and then they talk about the years and the season, and it will be another world that evolve once more. Then these beings eating this solid nectar with their food and nourishment, now they can stay there for a long time. But so long as they have this nectar, their body starts to becoming thicker and thicker. So from a arupa level, they are coming into the rupa level of existence, and they're getting some appearances now which was not there. Because of the karma vipaka of the past, they then become beautiful. They look, they have hairs and nice way to look at. They're called devas, and different kinds of beings appear, which looks pretty colored. Some of them are not that good looking, and the beautiful beings who come out would start tormenting the ugly ones, and they keep on telling them that we are more beautiful and you are so ugly. So the vanity of beautiful ones make the solid nectar vanish. That is, they get for the very first time mana, that is vanity. So once the vanity hits in, this nectar vanishes altogether, and then they start thinking, oh my goodness, what happened to it? And then they start remembering that, saying that, oh, it was such a taste, it was such a nice taste. So he says, even today, when people get something tasty, they say, oh, what a taste, what a taste. Because then they remember that, and they have forgotten all about it, that they had experienced this during the abhasara Brahma state, when they had first eaten this cream, and they just remembering an ancient traditional saying, but they don't understand what it means. Now they remember it fully. And since this is gone, then the sprouting starts on the ground, because it becomes more and more gross. So the ground starts to become fertile. So they just appear just like mushrooms, beautiful ones, fragrant ones, delicious ones. Again, they don't have to grow or do anything, it's filled with that. So what they were doing at that time as that cream, what they were eating, this is now the same thing which will happen on the ground. So these beings now feast on the ground. So they keep on eating these kind of these creepy things and the mushroom like things, and they're very tasty. So their body starts to becoming much more grosser and grosser, and they become solid, and they diverge in their appearance. Again, beautiful and ugly and all that will happen, and more mana or vanity will start, and because of that these ground sprouts vanish, and with that again the skin starts to develop much thicker on these bodies. So the pods starts to appear like trees, like different kinds of plants and all of that. Again, for a long time they relish, and they get some more mana, the vanity, and that goes away, and it is converted into untilled rice. That is, they don't have to till the lands, it just appears everywhere. So people start eating that, and if they were to eat in the morning, they just see the fields and it again back. So they can again eat in the afternoon and in the evening and all of that. They can be, so there's no need to cut anything. So it just can be eaten. And then after some time, this again the mana appears. Along with that, now their body becomes more solid and they are now able to see their appearances. And the female characteristics appears on women, and while male characteristics appear on the men. So they start the gender. So what happens is, for the very first time, these female beings start to gaze at the men in the sense that the male beings for the very first time, and they keep on staring each other. So the lust which was hidden in their mind starts to appear automatically. So they get lustful and their bodies are burnt with fever. So they get fever. So in the Sanskrit it is called as kama jwara. Jwara means the fever, and kama is the sensual touch and expecting to have an intercourse. So they then indulge in that, and because of this fever they have starts having sexual intercourse. And those who saw them having this pelted the cow dung and dirt and ashes, saying that you are making this place very dirty, so get lost, and then they chase them away. So they try to cleanse the place, and then they think that how on earth can one being do that to another? How it is possible? They are all born out of the abhasara Brahma, and how they can do this in act which cannot be done. So they are very surprised, and then they do this. So in India, in certain tradition, when a bride goes off to her husband place, there are certain traditions which they follow, that they throw rice without seeing anything behind when they are parting their homes and going to the husband home. So it is as like what was done earlier. So this ancient tradition of throwing rice back to the place where they were staying is that tradition which they have forgotten why they were doing it. Actually, they were pelted stones and dirt and all that for indulging in the sexual activity, which they were not supposed to be doing that, because they never required to have a sexual union to have anything called as an enjoyment or whatever, because everything was available without that act. But these beings, due to the craving and due to excessive the lust, they start doing this. So even today, in the lot of Indian traditions have this way of doing, and that's what Buddha says, that they're just remembering an ancient traditional saying, but they don't understand what it really means. Then he talks about the Methana Dhamma Samachara, that is how the immorality started and becoming more and more immoral. So these beings who had sex together weren't allowed to enter a village or a town for 1 or 2 months or more. So they threw themselves into immortality. They started to make buildings to hide their immoral deeds. Sorry, not immortality, it is immorality, because that they were only indulging in that. So what they felt is that because now we have to stay away ourselves as a family, I think I need to gather the rice for the evening for supper and the morning for breakfast. So we need to now maintain our families. So why don't I gather rice for supper and breakfast all at once? So then comes the idea of hoarding. So the beings start hoarding the rice for 1 or 2 days, and and the other beings watch it, and then they also take that as an example, and then they make it for 1 week and 2 weeks and all of that. So the other beings approach that being and say that, okay, let's gather rice, and they say that no, we already gathered as much as we want, and then the problem starts. The problem starts because then they have to divide the field. So then these very being which were self-luminous, and they were doing a lot of these comfortable things, are now put into discomfort. Now they have to go and till the land, they have to grow their own gardens, and they have to get their own the rice, and then they have to eat. So now starts, it's my land and it's your land and all that. So they have to create the boundaries. So once they create the boundaries, and then they have to have somebody who can protect the boundaries. So they select a person who is virtuous and who doesn't have any taint or is not greedy and all of that, and then they make him a person who will protect the land. So he is called as Maha Sammata Raja, the elected king. So this is like a democracy first time appears, wherein people will elect a person, and in that this person gets the share of rice, and then he takes care of everything. So in that, there are people who would build thatched homes, and then they don't cook or do anything, and then they start providing education, knowledge, and intellectualization, and these are called as Brahmins. So they select somebody who are people who are virtuous and who are kind-hearted and who are following the Dhamma. So they make them as their people who could teach them, and those people who were indulging in a family life, and they then move out, and they're called Vaisyas, and they start transactions. And then there are people who basically help all the communities and do a lot of jobs for them, and they start with a thing called as Sudra, whose job is to do the work and then get the earning. So then comes the circle of Brahmins, who start staying away from the villages, and they are always meditating. So they are then called as Jhayaka. Jhayaka means meditator. And then they find that some of them are not doing that. So they are very surprised, and then they then call them as Ajhayaka, that is, they no longer are meditating, and then they are actually compiling the texts. And so they start the verbal education and trying to give knowledge to the people. And not only that, they are also reciting something. So they basically provide the knowledge in three kinds. One is that they meditate. Two is that they then compile the texts, whatever has been meditated, and the third kind would do the reciting. So that is what happened on the circle of the Brahmins. And then the circle of merchants, since they were doing the businesses, so they start their own Dhamma, wherein they start doing all that activities which are required to do to maintain themselves, and then maintain the lands and other things, so that they can share the land and then make some profit out of it. And then the Suddha Mandala, or the circle of workers, there they just help everything, and then they start working together and helping all the communities, and then on a living. So this is how each of these varnas start helping each other, so that they can form something called as a world or a loka, wherein all these 4 different communities perform their own duties. So they create duties and obligations and principles and all of that, so that they can do all that. One second. The person elected, are they similar to Jesus or high priest? Yes, that's right. That's right. Whoever asked this question, that's correct. Coming back to this. Now in this categories, because of the raga, dvesha, moha created in their past, they in this Brahmana or the Kshatriya, Brahmana, the Vaishyas and the Shudras, or the warrior clan, the intellectual clan, the business tycoons and the working class, they do all kind of bad things by mind and speech and the body, and they come out with wrong views and they act in wrong views, and because of that, when they are reborn, they go to a derogatory existences, a bad place, the underworld, or they can land up in the hell. So that's what happens to them. And what happens to the other kind who are good, and they go into a good place, a good born, and a heavenly realm of existence. So these intellectual class, the priest class, would then explain how one can go to heaven and what happens in hell and all that. So they are able to see all of this because of their good deeds, and they start informing and then trying to reform the society. And the very first time these societies get formed, and there are something called as bad society, and there's called as underworld people doing all kind of shoddy things in their lives, and then they end up that and get into the animal realm of existence or a hell realm of existence. And there are good societies who contribute towards the spiritual awakening and then trying to maintain a good moral foundations, and then they go into the heavenly realm of existence. So this starts happening more and more, and then people get associated with that. So this is how even today we can see, in irrespective of the religions what we follow, whether somebody is following a Hindu religion or a Buddhist religion or a Jain religion or a Christian religion or an Islam or Hebrew or whatever kinds of religions each one of us are following right now, we can find the bad societies and the good societies being there. So there are moral values, there are immoral values, there are business values, there are ethical values, there are quite a bit of different things happening in this world. So that's exactly what is the state currently, and that was the state when Buddha was explaining. So then he talks about what qualities we can do to actually get into the awakening. So out of these 4 categories, there people would then find no use in being in these 4 categories, and then they come out of it, and then they leave their homes, and then they would like to work towards achieving that highest potential. So these people then develops the 7 qualities that leads to awakening and becomes extinguished in this very life. So it can be from Brahmana, it can be the Vaishya, it can be Shudra, it can be Kshatriya, it can be all of them. They are going to do that. It need not be only Brahmins, or it need not be only Kshatriya who can do that. It would be all the 4 of them. So they would then perfect it. And what are these perfections? Are the 37 factors of enlightenment, which if you have read, and that is what it gets connected, but is not covered here at all. because we need to go through that. So the Mahasatipatthana Sutta, if somebody has gone through it, can really see all of that, including the Four Noble Truths, and how each one factor leads to the other, and then the person gets completely liberated out of the fetters. So that's the basic steps, you know, can happen. So this is what is the Aggañña Sutta in terms of how a person can understand how these four classes are formed, and what happened, why it happened, and then how these societies get formed, and what a person from these societies can do to come out of it and then attain the highest potential and then get liberated beyond doubt. So that's the basic, idea of the Aggañña Sutta. So there ends the Aggañña Sutta actually, and if you have any questions, I can answer them. Any questions?
Uh, I've got a question.
Sure.
I know this might be slightly off subject, but in a formal way, is there nirvana in almost in every religion, or is it in particular religions? Like, not every religion has all the answers, but in a sense, based upon, say, your deeds and ethics and your virtues and morals, would you say a person could reach a similar state of nirvana in another religious path or following?
Yes, it is. It is there, but it's not as direct and as straightforward as what is there in the Buddha Dhamma. In the other religions is definitely there, but then it's a in my opinion, it's like a long path is what I can think of, but it is there. It's not that only a particular tradition has it, but in the Buddha Dhamma it is straight, and it is you can follow the steps. So the Noble Eightfold Path and the Four Noble Truths, and then a person, if we were to remove the 10 akusala dhamma, that is the main thing about it is that the leading to the 5 precepts, and then how a person removes the 10 immoral deeds, would immediately able to attain the nibbana then and there. The other religions, you need to or the other traditions definitely follow the same almost things, but it is not as codified or as straightforward as you could think of.
My second question would be, is it possible for, say, an ancestor to assist you in reaching nirvana or nibbana in a way that they could instruct you non-physically from, say, your dream state or in meditation? If you were to um, if you were to able to contact them in a way where you were in a deep state of meditation while learning from them, like they had already achieved nirvana and they just wanted to assist their family members as such.
Yes, that is also quite possible. Few years back, or rather, yeah, I think a few years back, I had this experience of a being talking to me all the time, and then guiding me what I should be doing and what I should not be doing. So that being was able to focus and tell me that when I do something wrong, it used to immediately say that to me. And initially, I thought it is my mind which is speaking, and then when I started seeing it more and more, and then this sequence started deeper and deeper, and some of the information which I never knew earlier started to appear. So I was feeling that most of these information is now delivered by the that being, either by telepathy, I guess, and then or by some other mode of transmission, which I'm able to get that at that point in time. So if I were to do something wrong, immediately I was asked not to do it. And if I were doing something good, if something moral, and immediately there was an appreciation of doing that. Yes, I think so. That is possible.
Yeah, because I've noticed I've been getting that quite a lot, and it doesn't always happen, but it usually happens generally whenever I'm doing something physically harmful to my health, like, say, eating bad food or smoking cigarettes. I haven't broken the habit, but I've only been smoking for 4 years, and I haven't broken the habit yet. But I get this voice that pops in and says, "You're lowering your defenses. You're lowering your defenses." And so usually, it right after it tells me that, I usually notice there's either arguments or some type of weird empathic feeling from others that I pick up really easily, and I usually have to meditate afterwards because it typically does lower my defenses if I smoke cigarettes.
That's excellent to hear. I mean, that is very much possible, and that happens. It's very nice to hear that you're actually getting that from a being, and that is very much there. Any other question? I have another 5 minutes time. I need to step out, and then need to conduct a meditation session for some people here. So I have 5 more minutes.
Um, the last question I have, it's kind of simple. If there's any um, instructed, or I guess not so much guided, but instructed methods for not reaching Nibbana, but the first stages of the Eightfold Path. Um, I'm not sure where to look on the server, but I'll peek around. But I just needed to know where I need to start at exactly.
Okay, what I can do is that we can do that together, and then we can record it, and then I can post it on YouTube or something like that, and then from then you can take it up. Would that help you?
Yes, that would. Thank you.
Okay, so you can let me know the date and time, and then we can actually do that.
I live in the Central Standard Time. It's kind of early in the morning right now, so right now it's 5:12 a.m. It's December 8th, 2019, but so today is Sunday, so possibly next Sunday on the 19th, no, not 19th, but um, 15th.
Yes, 15th we can do it. So I'm out of India. So presently it is 4:43 p.m. in the evening. So you can just let me know the time. Accordingly, we can figure out, and then we can do it.
Alright. Okay. I'm usually awake nighttime hours generally,
Okay.
but I'll try and make it on time if it's gonna be early in the morning.
No, we can do one thing. We can do it like 7:30 or 8 o'clock India time, and that is PM. 8 p.m. India time will give you something like 9 o'clock your time in the morning. Okay, there's a question from Lucas. It says that what is Aloka Kaya? A woman was remarking on the testimonial. It's like Aloka is it's actually Aloka, that is out of this world. So maybe she would have got into the Arupa realm of existence, where you will not feel your body, and you'll just your mind is so sharp and so clear that it looks so light. So maybe she might be telling that if I get further more information on that, Lucas, I can help you. Okay, that's it then. We'll if you have any questions or something like that, you can just post it, and then maybe I will try to answer them on chat mode, so that it would help you. Okay, thank you so much. Thanks all for your time, and then hope I could explain the Aggañña Sutta in a way what it should have been done. And if you have any comments and suggestions, you can do let me know. Thank you so much. Bye.